Closing doors, please.
I winded up here homeless on the street because my family turned against me and the city of New York turned against me. This also included the federal government. I have multiple court documents in the Eastern District Federal Court and one in the Southern District Court. The city of New York tried to shatter my credibility, and in doing so, they attempted to insult my intelligence and tried to make me look like I was something that I'm not, which I'm not really going to reveal at this point. But it put me in a really bad state because they lied to me directly to my face, and the New York City Police Department also lied to me to my face, and they tried to use false information to try to make that information look like it was true. They literally tried to falsify information against me, and I had the documentation to prove it, side-by-side comparison. So this went on for 20 years, and I was just asking for people to stop treating me that way and just start being honest with me, because I'm devoted to truth and honesty in my life. And on account of me being honest, I've been confronted by people who don't want to admit that they've falsified information. And I winded up here out on the street, and I've been here for 11 and a half months. I'm trading stock right now, and I'm going to get out of this situation. I'm trading stock with the money that I made from mining gold and diamonds here in the 47th Street Diamond District. So some of the money that I made from mining gold and diamonds on the street, I converted into some cash after 9 years, and I put it into the stock market. And I seem to be doing very well in the market. For now, I'm learning, and I could have made a lot of money over the past 5 months, and I didn't, but I learned what to be careful of and to be a bit more aware of the trades that I conduct to be a bit more profitable. So now I know how to look for stocks, and I'm pursuing some good stocks, good companies, and this is going to turn around pretty soon.
Can you talk a little bit about quarantine and how that might have affected you at all?
Quarantine has not affected me in any way. I've actually been isolated over here when many people have not been around. The quarantine actually was advantageous to me because it kept people away. While people were indoors, I was actually out here all alone, so there was really very little people around me. I haven't been sick. I haven't experienced any symptoms. I haven't noticed any signs of any illness regarding coronavirus, and I'm doing well. I mean, I'm in an isolated situation and I'm not exposed to anything. So here I am in the city of New York. I'm homeless. I'm sleeping in these boxes. And the coronavirus has been a very bad pandemic right now in the city. It's caused a lot of frustration for people. And it's caused a lot of financial distress also for businesses. People have been traumatized by the quarantine, and they've been traumatized because of the way that it changed their lifestyles. So this is not something that many people can get used to, but for the benevolence of society, this had to be done in order to take some sort of contingent measures to prevent people from becoming exposed, because coronavirus obviously transmitted very fast. Within a matter of a month, hundreds of thousands of people were being infected across the globe.
Do you feel like you get judged?
Excuse me?
Do you feel like you get judged often for living here?
I noticed that there's a stereotype. It's a very interesting question. Do I feel like I'm judged? Me personally, I don't take the judgment personally, but from the eyes of others, some people treat me as being in a very impoverished situation, a very depraved situation, and to a certain extent I am. I shouldn't be here on the street. I'd rather be helping a lot of people with money that I could be earning and organizing people, putting together an organization with resources that are available to me and to others in order to integrate those resources into capital enterprise. I see that as a very possible and feasible way of taking advantage of the situation and not necessarily suffering a situation like this. In every adversity, there's an opportunity. So I believe that people should be determined and persevere to accomplish higher goals. Even if they're homeless or if they're in depraved situations, I believe you can get out of anything. You just got to put your heart and mind to it. Even as I'm talking to you right now, my mind is still on the stock. Me holding this is a sign that this guy's in the market.
So please tell us about your experience with the stock market, how you started, and where you're trying to get.
The stock market I saw as an opportunity to make money to supplement a situation that I wasn't able to work in the jewelry industry. I'm a master diamond setter. I've been a diamond setter since 1984. I'm very well known in the jewelry industry by a lot of people, but I'm also hated for my honesty. And I really don't know what the conflict is about honesty that makes people turn against you, but the thing is, I believe in ethic, in conducting business, and I'm very people-oriented. I turned to the stock market because I found the market to be a very lucrative opportunity, as well as an opportunity to learn how to do something new and utilize small amounts of money in order to increase those amounts, in order to increase by the value of certain companies that I'd be investing in. I learned about the market through researching penny stocks, and I came across a company by the name of Amarin Corporation who had Vasepa. Vasepa is an omega-3 pill which has docosahexapentoic acid and icosahexapentoic acid. It was known to be one of the best omega-3 pills that was on the market for cardiovascular patients and to reduce arteriosclerotic plaque. It was to be used in conjunction with statin medications, and then further research and my understanding of the biology behind it, I began to research Vasepa, and it led to other stocks, and then finally I began to research forums, and I began to understand where lists of stocks were available, and I began to look at those lists, and then I began to assess stocks that were on those lists doing fundamental analysis. So here I'm a homeless person, stereotypically that is. I'm not homeless in my mind, and I'm moving thousands of dollars in the stock market that I've accumulated from mining gold here on the Diamond District sidewalks. And I did this over 9 years, and I converted that money into cash, and I invested that money into the stock market. Just 2 weeks ago, I had dumped $9,000 rather than holding the stock, and then I wound up making $12,000 off of the $9,000 that I dumped by moving into another stock. Right now, I'm holding $40,000 in equity, and that value of equity that I've put together throughout the course of 4 months trading here in the stock market, or trading off of my cell phone, trading stocks off of my cell phone in the stock market, I actually had up to a point where it was the maximum of $67,000, which I didn't sell. And that was 1 month ago. So now I'm back into another company, which is Decision Diagnostics. The symbol is DECN. And DECN has a coronavirus test that uses electrochemical impedance spectroscopy. And this is also used for diabetics. And the diabetic test works through a finger prick blood drop, and that drop of blood is run through an electrochemical impedance meter, and that meter assesses whether or not the virus is present. Initially, I had gone into the stock market. I invested in Co-Diagnostics. Co-Diagnostics, when I bought the company, I bought them on the spike, and it was an accident that I wound up learning about this company. But it turned out that they had the best polymerase chain reaction, which is also known as a PCR. PCRs are widely used in molecular diagnostics for nucleotide tests, and they're for genetic testing. The nucleotide tests that are used, that Co-Diagnostics uses in the PCR, is to amplify DNA or RNA. Those nucleic acid tests amplify the genetic material in order to compare to the existing virus or pathogen that they're testing for. So it turned out that Co-Diagnostics had a co-primer, which is 2.5 million times more sensitive than the existing PCRs, that Dr. Kerry Mullis invented in 1984 that's been used ever since. So I ended up learning about co-diagnostics, and I made a lot of money off of that company in the range of about maybe $30,000. And so I'm trading that money, and I brought up my equity to a point of $55,000, and now I'm sitting on $40,000, and I'm going to turn that over into millions. And that is my goal. That was my goal from day number one.
So I must ask, but you might have just answered the question with the last thing you said. So you have this equity. I must ask, like, why not get yourself a little apartment in Queens, or you know, even leave New York? Is it to save the money, to keep flipping the money until you get what you want?
That's a great question, and in your question, there's also a great observation. The answer to your question is yes. I do not want to use my equity, and I don't want to waste it on any rent or any additional resources that I may need as basic necessity, for the reason that I'm sacrificing that as an opportunity cost, which is known in business, in order to increase my capital position in the stock market, so that I'm sacrificing the amount that I could be living off of paying rent. Rather, I'm using that in the stock market as a sacrificial move in order to increase that money by investing in stocks, which I've already proven that I can do.
Now, how about the winter when it's cold and it's comfortable out?
I have to utilize certain mental tactics that United States Marines would use, that Army Rangers would use, that people who live in the wilderness or they live in the outdoors would use, with very basic resources, and try to utilize those resources as best I can in order to supplement my survival position. And I've already went through a whole winter. The winter wasn't so bad, but in surviving and having money and utilizing resources rather than money in order to find a place to stay has been pretty adventurous for me, I might say. It's been pretty interesting, and I've also tested my endurance, and here I am. I'm living proof that anybody can do this. I'm still a diamond setter. I'm still a professional in the industry. I mean, I can work setting diamonds any place, anytime. I've done some work. While I was here, I was actually asked to work for somebody on 47th Street for a few days. They had some rush jobs to do. They didn't come out as great as I wanted them to, because the castings were not as great as I'm used to. But I did do some work while I was here, and that did supplement a little bit of money. It did give me a little bit of money to survive on. It wasn't much, but I can still work. But right now, speaking about work, there is no work because the stores are closed because of the lockdown. But at the time that the stores were open, there really wasn't much work that was going on, because there's a lot of competition, and a lot of the work was outsourced, and that led to a habit of people outsourcing their work and trying to exploit cheaper labor. So I can still work, but there really isn't much work. And the work ethic has changed, and because the work ethic has changed, I'm not really comfortable working in this environment anyway, unless I'm able to establish my own environment to be able to prosper in, to be able to function more better in, optimally. My name is Raffi Stepanian, and I am also known as the New York City Gold Miner. I had a background in the jewelry industry as a diamond setter, and from diamond setting, I winded up in 2011 mining gold and diamonds here on the street, which the city of New York is recognized for. Oh, come on. And you asked something about cryptocurrency?
Yeah, I know you want to smoke your cigarettes, so I don't want to take much of your time.
I think cryptocurrency was lucrative in the period that it was introduced. Usually in the markets, you will find trends occurring in the markets, that when news occurs, news about new products developments or currencies or forms of currencies or new technologies, etc., etc. Whenever you hear news about new trends that are occurring within the market, people tend to be attracted to those trends. And what happened with cryptocurrency was that it blew up so large that people became attracted to the potential of cryptocurrency, and the attraction in that market led to public sentiment that was positive. So the more people kept on buying, the greater the price increased, because you have these resistance levels that you have to keep on breaking in order for the prices to have support below those resistance levels. But once those resistance levels are broken on the way up, stocks and currencies, they usually tend to, or securities if you will, even commodities market, they usually tend to hold higher support levels. But Bitcoin was amazing that it went to $30,000. Now I think it's trading somewhere in the area of around $6,000, and the sentiment has gone down. But cryptocurrency, I think in the beginning was very lucrative in terms of how it was offered to the public, but I'm really not much into cryptocurrency, but I can tell you that it's not safe because it's not a regulated currency, and that even sometimes in the markets you don't know what's going to happen. When you have negative factors that actually combine with currencies or securities that you're not too certain of in their security, in how secure that they are, then it would lead to a greater risk. So now that people don't have much money to spend in Bitcoin is about $6,000, and it's very expensive, and it's not something for the average person to buy. But then once again, I see that there's a risk because it's not regulated, and these systems have been hacked into. It's not about owning Bitcoin. It's not about spending Bitcoin. It's about owning the currency. It's about owning the securities in the currency that you would be trading up on the market based on their valuation. So many cryptocurrencies have emerged outside of Bitcoin, and Bitcoin seems to be the one that's holding on the top. Everyone that followed after Bitcoin tried to copy over Bitcoin, but all of them, from my understanding, none of them has reached the price of Bitcoin, because Bitcoin was the most popular one that came out in the beginning, and that's what started this whole trend. But stocks, biotech stocks, penny stocks, very profitable. And if you pay attention to charts, if you pay attention to trends, fundamental analysis in companies, you'll be able to see patterns develop within those within the trading of those stocks, that you'd be able to follow on and understand the development of new technologies, new drugs, new medical devices that would be used by those companies, and markets that would be opening up to new innovations in technology and biotechs that would actually increase the valuation of those stocks. And Co-Diagnostics, CODX, was just one of them. And Co-Diagnostics, as I mentioned earlier, Co-Diagnostics is a PCR company. It's a polymerase chain reaction. They are a molecular diagnostics company, and they have the best PCR. And I learned about this company through accident. So I saw this stock go from $3 to 65 cents, all the way up to $31 just recently. And this is the way the stock market moves. It fluctuates. And when companies do good, you have very good standing in investing in those companies where your valuation will increase. Your valuation increases based on how companies and their fundamentals actually improve within the current trends of the stock market, or within the current trends of the market itself, because of increasing trends in public sentiment, which drive stocks, because people who buy and sell stocks, they are the ones who make up the markets.